Back when analog TV was shut down, people started throwing out all of their old CRT sets that they had laying around. You couldn't pay someone to take them off your hands. They were damn near worthless. But as time went on, people realized that CRTs are never going to be made again, and they started becoming very valuable. I was born in 1993 and grew up in the days when CRTs were everywhere. Every computer monitor and TV set was a CRT, and I never thought about it, but today they're a technology from a bygone era that to me feels like pure magic. It's a giant vacuum glass bulb with an electron gun that fires 3 beams at a phosphor-coated glass wall and guided by a series of delicately placed magnets, all powered by a 10 to 30 kilovolt transformer. If you've ever seen footage of one being assembled at a factory, you will completely understand why these are never going to be made again. So if you ever wanted a CRT to play some games on or to watch VHS or something, you better grab one while you still can. A few years ago, I found this huge TV sitting outside of the house of some folks who were moving out, and they let me take it for free. I had my friend come and help me get it home. This is a Sony KV35S42, a 35-inch Sony Trinitron, and it's absolutely massive. I had never seen a CRT this big before, and I'm not surprised the owners let me take it off their hands. This TV has S-Video, Composite, and RF, and for a long time I'd planned on using this set to show how to RGB mod a CRT. Around 2023 and 2024, this community emerged online dedicated to archiving information on as many CRTs as possible, as well as around TVs that can be RGB modded. The CRT database has a growing archive of information and manuals, and Sunthar's sector has RGB modding guides. Usually when you did an RGB mod the old-fashioned way, you would need a switch in order to force the blanking line into RGB and back, and you would need to connect 75 ohm resistors, but the Mux board I got from Sunthar's store conveniently takes care of all that, which makes it much nicer. I decided to go with SCART just because I've always wanted a TV with a dedicated SCART port. I just think it'd be really cool to have a TV with a connector that most people here have never heard of. So I assembled the Mux board as shown here. I also made a small CRT discharge tool out of a screwdriver, power cable, and an alligator clip. This will release the high voltage under the anode cap and make the TV a lot safer to work on. Sony TVs usually discharge themselves, but I recommend discharging it manually anyway, just to be safe. If you plan to open a CRT like I am here, you really need to be aware of the high voltage stored in these. Learn how to discharge the tube, stay clear of the anode cap and button, only use one hand so that you're not grounding something through your heart, and have someone nearby if possible who can render first aid if something goes wrong. When I moved into my new house, I decided to open up one of my 13-inch Orions that I use when I capture Super Mario World videos for this channel and give it the RGB treatment. There's a guide on Sunthar's site for these as well, and they're very easy to work on. I didn't get a video of this project unfortunately, but I also made a Mux board for this TV using spare parts and a bare PCB. I wired it up to several points on the board after desoldering 3 grain of sand sized resistors from the bottom of the analog board, and the mod worked first try. It looked absolutely gorgeous on this small screen. I would say it's a nice alternative to a PVM since those are expensive as balls. This gave me the experience and confidence to try to tackle bigger sets, and I think a 13-inch set like this is perfect for beginners. After a while, I was ready to start this project and opened up the giant TV for the first time. This thing was rained on like crazy, but still worked perfectly. I was amazed at Sony's engineering. These TVs are an amazing piece of technology, and it's no wonder they won an Emmy Award for the Trinitron. The first thing I needed to do was remove 3 tiny resistors, one for red, green, and blue each, and then solder the red, green, and blue wires to the pads each resistor was on. These pads are very small, so the connection will be weak, as you'll soon see. Next, I took my multimeter and located the composite sync pin, the S-Video detect pin, the left and right audio pins, and the ground pins, and soldered all the correct wires needed onto those. It looks like this. And last but not least, I needed to replace a jumper here with a diode for the blanking signal. Once all the modifications have been done to the board, I hooked up the other end of the connector to my Mux board, put the board back into the TV set, and this is what happened when I tested it out. This is because the composite sync was in the wrong location, and my dumbass wanted to challenge myself and see if I could locate them without the guide. Turns out I needed to use the sync on Luma instead of sync on composite pin. So I relocated that wire and put the board back in, and then this happened. Yeah, the blue and green wires got detached and turned my TV into a glorified Virtual Boy. Thankfully it didn't take any pads with it, but that is a very real risk that can happen, and repairing that would be a total nightmare. I reattached the wires and made sure to get a good deal of solder on them, and the mod worked at last, and it looked beautiful. Now it was time to install the SCART port onto the back of the case, and I broke out the Dremel tool for this task. Sunthar actually sent a small stencil over with the mux board, and I used this to draw an outline of where I needed to cut. I used the saw bit to cut out the bulk of the inside, and then used the sander bit to file the rest down to the needed size. I felt like a dentist with the filing bit. It's oddly fun and satisfying doing this, and I made sure the SCART port fit nicely. Normally when you mod TVs like this, the flaws become way more apparent, especially the convergence of the red, green, and blue beams, and this is fixable but requires you to get in and turn these magnetic rings on the CRT's neck. I was able to get it dialed in on my small Orion CRT, but this big Trinitron didn't need any adjustment at all and looked fantastic. These days I don't find CRTs on the street anymore, and I'm glad I picked up this one when I did because it is a nice addition to my fireplace room. I recently got a Mr. FPGA system as well, and it's been so nice playing Game Boy on here since the screen is so large it compensates for the tiny window these games display in. Sony Trinitrons also have separate power boards, which eliminates this hideous bowing that shows up when you try this on one of those lower end TVs. Those integrate the power and the analog boards all together in one. So that's gonna do it for this video. It's been something I've wanted to do for several years, and I'm glad I finally got to it. This thing is gonna get so much use now, and I can't wait to spend many winter nights gaming on this and watching movies. If you have a CRT that you'd like to do this to, head over to Sunthar's sector and see if it's RGB moddable. It's totally worth doing. And shoutouts to Sunthar for creating this project because it makes it a million times easier for dumbasses like me to upgrade our aging CRT sets. I would never have been able to do this in the old days when you needed the switch to force the blanking signal and all that shit. This is a million times more convenient, and I learned a lot in the process. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.